Okay, so for this week's Pilates, we are going to need potentially a resistance band and a weight of some description. Now, I just want to say that all of the exercises that you're going to do in this class today, you can do without any equipment at all. So you can do all of this body weight without any assistance of a ball or a band. But if you choose to add that in for a little bit of extra resistance to make it a little bit more challenging, you can do so. So I'm going to demonstrate all of the exercises with some resistance with the band or the ball. But just know that at any point you can do all of these without either of those added things. Alright, so the first exercise that we're going to do is in standing. If you're choosing to have the band, we're going to have that band around the ankles. Okay, we're going to start at the back of our mat. We're going to take up our posture set position, floating the head, shoulders back and down, ribs down, tummy tight, squeezing those bum muscles to draw the knees forwards, soft knee position, and the arch of the foot is supported. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to walk forwards, but we're going to tap our toes out to the side before we bring them in. So we step forwards, take the leg out to the side against that resistance of the band, or just free body weight if you prefer. Back in front, take the other leg out to the side, middle, side, middle, side, middle. Keep going until you get to the front of your mat. And then we're going to take it all the way backwards as well. So going out to the side. What we want to be conscious of when we're doing this is that our standing leg, as we take that resistance away, body weight or band, is that this standing leg, the knee isn't turning, collapsing in. We're not twisting through those hips, so we're keeping tall, core engaged, bum muscle squeeze. Everything is facing forwards, and we're just taking that leg out to the side, keeping everything facing forwards until we get to the back of our mat. Then just keep going forwards and backwards. You'll find as well that as you start getting tired, your body's going to want to lean over to the side like this to make it a little bit easier. So just check on that if you can. Take it nice and slowly. The slower you go out to the side, body weight or band, the more challenging this is going to be. So if you use a lot of momentum, it's much, much easier. So take it nice and slowly if you can. Once you get really tired, you'll start feeling that back wanting to arch a little bit. So again, keep tummy tight, ribs down, narrowing and flattening through those stomach muscles. Feet and knees facing forwards again so we don't get that turn in. Last length. Okay, and relax down. Just shake that off a little bit. Take a little break for a moment. We are going to do a movement that's very, very similar now, but we're going to do it up on the toes. So this is going to change and challenge your balance in a slightly different way. So for any kind of functional weight-bearing move that you're doing, walking, jogging, running, anything that you're doing like that, what we're going to find is that we need that weight and practice of the balance through the flat foot and up on the toes. So let's come up onto our toes. Engage our core, ribs down, squeeze those bum muscles, and see if we can do this, but up on our toes instead. You might want to take it a little bit slower. Again, really squeeze those tummy muscles. Because your balance will be a little bit harder in this position, I would find something to stare at pretty intently. Try and get your balance at each phase of the movement. And we're going to go forwards and back once more. Again, doing this with or without the band. Either will be super challenging. And relax yourselves down, really nicely done. I'm going to come to the front of the mat so you can see it, this one. If you want to add in a weight, you absolutely can. So this can be, I've got a Pilates ball here, it weighs about 1 kilo, but you can use a small dumbbell or a bottle of water or anything you like if you fancy it. So we're going to have the band around the feet this time. So if I go to the side, you can see it's around under the arches of the feet and over the tops of the feet here. what I'm going to do is to lift one knee up towards my chest. So I'm bringing that knee up towards hip height. I'm going to really pull my toes up so the band doesn't fall off. So you're going to feel that added extra resistance coming in through those hip flexors. Again, doing this without the band is still going to work those hip flexors really, really nicely. So either is a great version to do. So we're going to bring that knee up to hip height and we're going to hold that balance. This ball now is to challenge that balance a little bit more. So what we're going to do is to take that ball up overhead, pass it overhead and bring it back down again the other side. We're keeping this knee up at hip height if we can. If you want to bring it down between each repetition, come down and go back up again, then we can. We're going to stick with one side for now. We're going to build up that endurance on this side and then we're going to switch the sides over all together. So again, rest down as often as you like, but standing tall through that standing leg. Really squeeze your bum muscles, keep that knee soft, the arch of the foot is supported, big toe is down. As you get tired, you might find that again your hips want to twist across. So try and keep everything facing forwards, hips, shoulders, tight tummy, everything facing forwards. I'm going to do another couple on this side before we switch over. You should find this is really burning those bum muscles on your standing leg and your hip flexors on the leg that is lifted up. Try and keep that knee up at hip height if you can. And let's switch the sides over. Take as much of a break between these reps as you want to do. So again, really pull that foot up if you've got the band there so that you're not letting that band slip off your foot. Added extra with the ball passing up over the head if you want it. But you can just as easily do this without any weight in the hands and still be doing those arm movements. They're still going to challenge your balance. Rest down as often as you need. Try and keep that hip coming up towards that hip height, knee up to hip height. Last couple. And relax it down, nicely done. Again, take a little break on those legs while I just demo through the next exercise that you've got. This next one, we're going to bring that band back up to around our ankles so they're not underneath the feet anymore. And what we're going to do is we're going to take ourselves into a forward stance. So we've got one leg is forwards. It's just the toes tapping down, or if you want to make this a little bit more gentle, you can take the heel down as well. So you can feel some resistance from the band, but your feet are flat down, so that band's not doing quite as much. But you still feel that resistance coming in, so you still want to feel that need to press forwards with that knee on the front leg. And all we're going to do with this one is pass the ball down to the side and bring it back up, pass it over, and down to the other side. Okay, so this is obviously going to be more challenging if you've got the front foot, just the toes down, because it's going to challenge that balance a little bit more. So we go down with that ball, back to the middle, pass it over, back down, down to the other side, back up. If you want to make this a little bit harder again, instead of keeping the toes down on the front leg, you can keep that foot lifted off. Okay, so again, this is going to challenge those thighs this time, as well as the hip flexors. You'll also find that the standing leg again is working really hard to stabilise and support. So we've got a level 1, which is the flat foot forwards, again with or without the band. Level 2 is weight is all on the back leg, but we've just got the toes down on the front leg. Level 3 is with the foot completely off on the front leg. You're going to try and keep that leg straight if you can, so you're working through the quads as well. If you have that knee bent, you'll work through the hip flexors, but not so much through the quads. Okay, so whichever hand the ball is in is going down to the side. You're reaching back up over the middle, down to the other side, and reaching down that side. So your standing leg should be working really, really hard through those bum muscles. Again, remember you can do this without the band and without the ball. So without the band and ball is going to be much more gentle. Add in one or both to make it more challenging. Okay, so you should be finding that that side is absolutely on fire by now. So let's relax down, let's switch it to the other side. We're going to take the other leg up for our standing position and take the other leg forwards. Again, with or without the resistance of the band. Heel down for level 1, all the way on the back leg with just the toes down in front for level 2. Level 3, that foot is lifted off the floor. We've got the ball in one hand, we're reaching down, back up, pass the ball up and over, back down, and down to the other side. Ooh, wobble. Back to the middle, pass it up and over, down and lean. Okay, so see which level is working for you. Remember to be really nice and tall through that standing leg. That's really important, so we're not letting that hip dip out to the side. You want to be nice and tall, squeezing up through those bum muscles on your side to be as tall through those hips as you can. Really activating those support muscles. Again, on that standing leg, as those bum muscles start to get tired, your knee's going to want to collapse in a little bit. So let's try and avoid that if we can. Take more rests if you'd like. I'd much rather that we did less repetitions but got really good technique the whole way through. And relax it down, nicely done. All right, wiggle that out. If you like, have a little break again while we demo the next exercise. Okay, so this next one that we're going to do, we don't need the ball for. And again, we can do this with or without the band in standing. So we're going to pick a leg for our standing leg to be our stabilizer. So I'm going to start with my right leg as my stabilizer. And what I'm going to do is to take the other leg out to what will be my 7 o'clock. If you're starting with the other leg, it might be your 5. So what I'm going to do from here is take all the weight on my standing leg, starting tall, core engaged, tailbone tucked under as I take that weight. And then I'm just going to bend that knee slightly. Okay, so from the side, starts out straight. And then I'm just going to bend slightly so the weight is through my heel. My hips come back behind me. I've got a soft knee position. This other leg is going to go backwards to my 7 o'clock against the resistance of the band. But you can see that the rest of my body doesn't move. My body weight isn't going back with that leg. My body weight is staying completely still. So if I show you that from the front now, again, start tall through that standing leg. A slight dip as the hips go backwards and the knee bends slightly, but the weight is still through the heel. And that foot is just going out diagonally backwards against the resistance of the band. Or if you're doing this body weight, again, it's still going to be an excellent exercise. We're just taking that leg out backwards. You're going to be activating those glutes on the diagonal. Really, really tricky group of muscles to activate. But this is a really lovely exercise to get that endurance up. So with or without the band, going diagonally backwards, we're in this very, very slight mini squat position. So it hardly looks like it at all, but with just small position, knee bend, hip out behind us. Really focusing on that front leg, keeping that knee pulled out to the side, not letting it collapse in. So really squeezing those bum muscles and lifting the arch of the foot to try and keep that knee in a nice neutral position. If the knee's not twisting, it means that all our hip and our foot and our ankle is in a really good position as well. So that's great. Again, you should be starting to feel a nice little burn coming in through this leg that's moving through those muscles on the diagonal in your bum and through that standing leg all the way around the hip. Okay, let's switch it over now. So take a little rest, stand tall, and we're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, so I'm standing tall through my left leg, tucking the tailbone under, and I'm going to come down into this miniest of squat positions. Hips go out behind, there's some weight through my heel, and a slight knee bend. I'm going to take that leg out now to 5 o'clock on that clock face. So my body's not moving. The rest of me is staying completely still. It's just that leg on its own that's moving out to the other side. So you'll feel the leg that's moving, again, you're going to be working through those bum muscles, but the standing leg, the one that's doing all the stability work, you'll probably find is working even harder. So again, if you feel like you're starting to let that knee collapse in on that standing leg, or your body's starting to turn as you go, then stop, take a little break, take a moment, and come back down again. And we're going to do that again with a really solid technique. Even if it means you can only do a couple at a time, that's absolutely brilliant. You're recognizing if you've got any of those movement patterns that are starting to lose good technique. And you're stopping, resting, reanalyzing, going back down with a fresh. All those hip and stability muscles must be working really, really nicely by now. helpful. And relax yourselves down. Really lovely work. Okay, so there's one more exercise in standing for today. I'm going to take the leg out to the side, again with or without the band. If you've not done anything like this before, I'd recommend starting without the band, because even without the band it can be fairly tricky. Just keeping that band on makes it super challenging. So see what level feels right for you. We're again going to stand tall on one leg. This leg is going to come out to the side. Now again, like we did with an exercise a couple of exercises ago, you can keep the foot on the floor for the first level, and you can have the foot elevated off the floor to make that even more challenging. So this is going to be our start position, so we want to be comfortable and know that we can maintain this for at least sort of 5-10 seconds. So from here, we're going to do a pelvic tilt. So this is when we arch our lower back and stick our tailbone out behind us, creating this forwards tilting of the pelvis, and then we tuck that tailbone under, raise our hip bones up at the front, so we're rotating backwards. Taking the tailbone out, and tucking it under. So we're going to add that in with our leg movement out to the side. So leg out, either with the band or without, toes down or toes lifted. Make sure again on that standing leg that knee's not collapsing in, and we're just going to do a small pelvic tilt. So not only do we have to be working against the resistance of the band, doing our pelvic tilt, but we've got to balance as well. So this should be, even though it's the tiniest of moves, be quite challenging around a lot of the stability muscles in your hips. So make sure, like I said, this is more challenging than it looks. So maybe start this one without a band and just with those toes down, just until you can get that movement pattern right, or that tilting of the pelvis. And take as many breaks as you need. It's a tricky one, like I said, even though it's a really, really small move. Okay, let's do the same on the other side now. So coming out to the side, toes down or toes off, with or without the band, standing tall through that standing leg, and we're going to stick that tailbone out behind us, and tuck it under, tailbone out behind, and tuck it under. Again, making sure that this standing leg, that knee's not collapsing in. Want to really squeeze through those bum muscles to draw the knee out. And tailbone out and in. You don't have to have your hands like this on your front and back. It's just sometimes quite nice to feel the tilt happening. So if you've got your hand on your tummy and one on your lower back, you'll feel them moving. So you can see my hand go down as I do that anterior tilt, as my tailbone goes out behind me. And then as my tailbone tucks underneath, you can see that hand coming up at the front. So you're seeing that rotation happen, and you can feel it happening as well. So it's quite nice feedback, or hands on the hips to feel that movement forwards and backwards as well. All right. That's absolutely brilliant work. We're going to come down to the floor now. All right. Okay. So we're having that band around our knees. Again, remember that you can do all of these exercises without the band. It's not necessary for any of these, but can just add an extra little bit of resistance if we want it. So we're coming down onto the floor, and we're going to have our knees bent. The band is just a couple of inches above the knees if you're using it. And we're going to come out into our bridging position. So we're going to bring our feet and knees hip width apart. So if you are using that band, you can feel that resistance around the knees. And then what we're going to do from here is just to slowly work up to our top bridge, like we usually do, just to ease into that movement nice and slowly. So we're engaging our core, squeezing through our bum, pushing through our heels, and slowly raising those hips up towards the ceiling, keeping the knees over the feet. You've either got that added resistance with the band or you don't. We're trying to avoid that wavering of the knees. So just getting comfortable in this position before we start taking this a little bit further. So this is a nice warm-up for the exercise we're going to be doing because we have done these before. Last couple for a warm-up. Keep squeezing those bum muscles on the way down as well. Okay, so what we're going to do this time is we're going to do that same move, but what we're going to do is to march the feet out and in. So we're going to start with our feet and knees together, and we're going to take a foot and a knee out to the side, bring it all the way back in, same on the other side, so we're marching out to the side. What we want to concentrate on is making sure our feet and knees go together. What we don't want to do is take the foot out, but let the knees stay in. So I'll give you an example of both. So starting with our feet and knees together, up into our bridge. As we take the leg out to the side, you can see there that the knee is still over the foot, which is great. What we don't want is this. Okay, so the foot going out and the knee staying in. All right, so do whichever level feels right for you, with or without the band. And we're just trying to take that leg out to the side, keeping the knee over the foot. And this could be just an inch away, or it could be as far out to the side as you feel happy with going. But we want to try and keep the hips in the same position, so it's just that leg moving on its own out to the side. If you feel that leg going out to the side makes you twist through your body and you're getting a bit of a side bend through the waist, then you've probably gone a little bit too far and we're compensating. So really keep squeezing through those bum muscles. That's really, really important. Try and make everything else nice and solid and stable as you're just doing those small marches out to the side and back in. Try and keep those hips nice and high. What you'll find is that as you get tired, your hips will start creeping back down again, because it's much, much easier when their hips are near the floor. All right, finish the one that you're on and relax yourselves down. We're going to come over onto our front now. Okay, so with this one, it really doesn't matter about using the band or not. There is a way that you can make it useful, which I'll show you in a moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to pop up into our kneeling plank position. Okay, so we're going to have our elbows underneath our shoulders. We're going to have the toes tucked underneath us. And these are going to be a hip width apart. We're going to tighten our tummy muscles, so engage them, narrow and flatten through those stomach muscles, pull the shoulders down and away from the ears, and we're just going to lift those hips up so that they're either the same height as the shoulders or slightly lower. We've got that nice neutral spine position, so we're not dipping through that lower back. So tuck that tailbone to point down towards the floor, lift the ribs up towards the ceiling. Okay, so from here, we're going to do our bone saw position. So we're going to go forwards and backwards, okay, through the shoulders. So with this particular one, with the knees down, makes no difference if you've got the band or not, okay, because the knees are down. If you do want to add the band in, we're going to go up into our full plank position. So from here, if you've got quite a lot of resistance on the band, your knees are going to want to come together and your bum's going to want to come up to the ceiling. So you've got to really pull those knees apart if you're doing that band version. And again, as we come forwards and backwards, you're going to push forwards on your toes and come backwards. We're adding that band in to keep those knees apart against the resistance. Okay, so we've got the version from the knees, where we're coming forwards, and then letting the hips go up towards the ceiling as we come forwards and backwards. Or if we're bringing the knees off the floor into our full plank position, we're pushing from the toes to bring the shoulders forwards and backwards. Again, we're maintaining that neutral spine position, so trying to avoid that dippy back. It's quite difficult to do actually, put yourself in that dippy back position. Feels very, very unstable, and so it should. So see which version feels right for you. Feel free to switch between the levels if one is either a little bit too easy and want to just creep up to the other level to give it a try, or the other level is a little bit too challenging, you want to come down to this one for a rest. That's absolutely fine. Great. All right, relax yourselves down. Okay, so the next one, we don't need a band for, but we are going to use a ball. Again, optional extra. Okay. So we're going to have a lay down on our front. Our forehead is going to be down, and we're going to take our arms out one at a time to come around above the head and bring it back down to your waist. So we're going to have the forehead down is level 1, like so. So we want to make sure that we're really pulling those shoulders back and down first of all, okay, so they're coming away from the floor and back and down and towards each other diagonally into the middle. So that's this position here before we get started. Forehead down for level 1. You're going to take one arm out and around above the head and bring it back down. Then take the other one, bring it back down. Level 2, you're going to take one arm up and then the other, and then the first comes back down and then the second comes back down. Okay, so all of that is with the head down. If you want to make it more challenging, again, you can keep that head lifted, but we do want to keep the eyes down, chin pulled in, and the back of the neck long. So this is what level 1 looks like. Adding in the ball as an optional extra, or your weight, or with the pass. Or the next level is to lift the head and shoulders, chin is pulled in, back of the neck long, and again we're doing with or without the ball, one arm at a time, or taking to both. See which level feels right for you. With or without the ball. Remember, you can vary between those two levels, see what feels right for you. Head up or head down, either way that the eyes are pointing down, the chin is pulled in, and the back of the neck is long. We're really keeping those shoulder blades pulled back and down the whole way through as much as possible. If you feel any of those techniques lagging a little bit, then just relax down and come back up again when you're ready and feel rested enough. Last couple. And relax yourselves down. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is in side lying. So this one's absolutely brilliant for replicating sort of walking and running motions. We're going to lay on our side, we're going to lift our waist to create that gap, and we're going to lift our top leg. This other leg is going to have that optional extra of the ball weight, which starts down by your side. Okay, so we're lifting that top leg, we're going to take the top leg forwards and backwards. Really small movement, but what we're going to then do is take the ball in the opposite direction. So again, we're mimicking this walking position or running position, but what we're doing is lifting those top legs against gravity and against that extra weight in your top hand if you want it. So what we're doing, making sure that we're doing with this, is to keep the shoulder pulled back and down so that it doesn't come up and forwards here. Really set that shoulder blade, engage your core, pull the ribs down. We're keeping that gap between your waist and the floor, and everything is just going against gravity. So we're using a lot more of those support and stability muscles. I would probably keep the palm facing forwards with this one. Okay, so again, we're opening up through the shoulder rather than letting it roll forwards. Try and keep the rest of the body still. You should find that the hip isn't rolling forwards and backwards. It's just the top arm and leg that are moving. Everything else is hopefully staying really nice and stable. You should really start feeling that burn all the way around the top of the shoulder, into the top of the arm, through at the hips and bum muscles and down into the outer thigh. Okay, and relax that down. Okay, so this next one is in the same position, but you don't need the arm weight for it. We're going to lift the top leg, we're going to bring that knee up towards your chest, and we're going to take it down and then out behind you. Bring it forwards, up towards the chest, and down and out behind you. Now the trick with this one, And I want to do it on this side before we switch over and do them both on the other side, because again, we're building that endurance. You should already find after the first couple of repetitions of this is burning a little bit through those bum muscles. So when that leg goes backwards, your back's going to want to arch and your ribs are going to want to flare. So really pull those ribs down, tighten through the tummy. As that leg goes out behind you, we're trying to avoid that back arch. Okay, so the leg goes back, but nothing else changes. So again, you're using those bum muscles even more. So bringing that knee up towards the chest, taking it down, straightening that leg, letting it go out behind you without letting the back arch. So it should be getting a really nice burn now. And relax it down. Let's do the same again then on the other side. So we're going to have that optional ball, having a lay on our side. Head is rested down, the waist is lifted. We're going to have this arm with or without the ball down by the side. Top leg's going to be lifted, and we're just going to take that forwards and backwards. Have the arm going in the opposite direction. Keep that waist lifted as you go. Keep that spine and pelvis in neutral. Keep the palm facing forward, so we're opening out through that shoulder. Shoulder is pulled back and down. And again, you should start feeling that work creeping in through around the hip, down into the top of the outer thigh, and again around all the way around the shoulder. Rest down as much as you like. If you feel that waist starting to dip, or if you feel your technique starting to lag, always have a rest down, and when you're ready, you're going to get started again. Great work. All right, pop that ball down. Last exercise for today. We're going to take that top leg. We're going to keep that waist lifted. We're going to bring that knee up towards the chest. We're going to take it down, take it straight and out behind us, making sure that as that leg goes backwards, we're engaging our core, so we're not arching through the back. And again, bringing that knee up towards the chest, down and out behind us. Up towards the chest, down and out behind us. Feel that burn pretty quickly after you've done that previous exercise. Again, rest down as much as you need, but we should really be feeling that through your bum, through the top of the hip, and down into that outer thigh. Up to the chest, down, straight and behind. Last couple. And relax it down. Well done, everybody.